Title: The Rise and Fall of Danny Carter, Part 2. Danny Carter had always been a fighter, but now he had no fight left in him. Alone in a cheap motel room, surrounded by empty bottles and the lingering smell of smoke, he barely recognized himself anymore. The once great Danny Carter, the man who had risen from the slums, built a life of success, and captured the hearts of millions, was now a broken shadow of who he used to be. His phone buzzed on the nightstand, but he ignored it. It had been months since Aaliyah left with the kids, months since the label dropped him, months since he had looked in the mirror and seen anything but regret. But tonight was different. The phone kept buzzing. Annoyed, he picked it up, ready to silence it, until he saw the name flashing across the screen. Mom. His hands clenched the phone. He hadn't spoken to her since he found out the truth about his real father. The betrayal still burned, and the anger had kept him away. But something inside him, maybe curiosity, maybe desperation, forced him to answer. Yeah? His voice was hoarse, worn from months of alcohol and cigarettes. A long pause, then his mother's trembling voice. Danny, baby, I need you to come home. Something was wrong. He could hear it in her voice. His mother was a strong woman, never one to sound afraid. What's going on? It's about your father. Danny sat up, his mind racing. Which one? His tone was cold, sharp. Just come home, she whispered. Despite everything, despite the anger and pain, Danny found himself standing up, grabbing his coat, and heading out into the night. Home. His childhood neighborhood looked the same, but it felt different. The streets he once walked as a determined kid with big dreams now felt suffocating. Inside the small apartment, his mother sat at the kitchen table, aged beyond her years. Tell me, Danny demanded. She took a deep breath. Your father, your real father, he's dying. Danny felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just emptiness. He asked for you, she continued. He wants to see you before he goes. Danny scoffed. Why the hell would I give him that? Tears welled in her eyes. Because you need answers. Because you're lost and you think drinking and partying will fix it. Because whether you want to admit it or not, this has been eating you alive. Danny wanted to argue, wanted to curse her for even suggesting it. But deep down, he knew she was right. The meeting. The hospital room smelled like disinfectant and death. The man lying in the bed was a ghost of the feared drug lord he once was. Danny, the man croaked. Danny stayed silent, arms crossed. I ain't asking for forgiveness, his father said, his voice weak. I just need you to know I never wanted to leave you. Danny scoffed. You didn't leave. You destroyed lives. You destroyed my life. His father sighed. I made mistakes, bad ones, but I always kept an eye on you. You think your scholarship came out of nowhere? I paid for it. Danny's heart stopped. What? His father gave a weak smile. Thought you were smart, boy. How you think a kid from our neighborhood got into a top school with a full ride? It wasn't just grades. I pulled strings. I made sure you had a chance. Rage and confusion crashed into Danny all at once. His success, his escape, was because of the man he hated. You ruined me, Danny whispered. I had everything, and now I have nothing because of you. His father coughed violently. No, son. You have nothing because you let this destroy you. He locked eyes with Danny. I did what I did. But your choices? They're yours. Stop blaming me for throwing your life away. Danny wanted to deny it, wanted to scream at the dying man, but deep down, he knew it was true. The road to redemption. His father died that night, and for the first time in months, Danny didn't reach for a bottle. The next morning, he stood outside Aaliyah's house, nervous. When she opened the door, her eyes widened in shock. "You look different," she said. "I need help," Danny admitted, voice shaking. "I lost myself. I don't want to lose you, too." For the first time in a long time, he saw something in her eyes. Hope. It took time. It took therapy, rehab, and facing his demons. But Danny fought his way back. Not for fame, not for success. For himself, for his family. And one day, years later, when he stood on a stage again, microphone in hand, singing about pain, redemption, and love, he knew he was finally free. The end.